Jury selection has wrapped up in the high-profile trial for the case of Milwaukee judge Hannah Duggan. Let's get back out to Blake Eason live outside the federal courthouse with political director Matt Smith.
Yeah, that's right, Ray. It was a tedious process, but a jury is now seated. That process taking about 6 hours. Proceedings began just after 9 o'clock this morning. Matt, you were inside the courthouse all day long today. Really one of the big moments that happened for day one of jury selection was when the judge reversed that initial decision to allow for jurors to be questioned privately. This is something that typically does not happen. What was that like inside the courtroom at that moment?
Somewhat of a remarkable moment, Blake, literally in the middle of jury selection as this was ongoing after lunch break. One of the first things we have to remember is no cameras are allowed, no audio is allowed, so it's difficult inside just from a reporting perspective. And one of the first things we heard was all of these questions in public, dozens of jurors sitting there, the judge asking some simple questions like, do you have any scheduling concerns? Do you have any conflicts? But then it gets more serious when you have one-on-one questions that they started bringing these jurors into the judge's chambers with the attorneys present, Judge Duggan present, and that's when the judge decided that the audio was going to be cut, that reporters, the public, would not be able to hear that. During the lunch hour, Hearst Television, an attorney for Hearst Television, which owns WISN 12, and Gannett, which owns the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, officially objected. And what the judge did then is he heard those concerns, much to the objection of the defense and prosecution, and he reversed his decision. So the audio of those questions, some which are pivotal, talking about views on immigration, talking about views on politics, talking about views on ICE, which will become central to this case.
Right.
We then were able to hear that in terms of the reporting process.
And it's important to note, Hannah Hilliard, obviously you were in there as well. There's a feed that's going to where the reporters are, so we're able to hear some of that. Now, what I found to be so striking about this, it was both the defense and the prosecution that actually wanted those questions to be in secret. Why was that? Where did that motive come from?
Both the defense and federal prosecutors, as they have for months, have had serious concerns about picking a fair jury. They told the judge their main concern in all of this is if this was broadcast, if this was made public to the public and members of the media, there would be serious concerns about whether the jurors would be fully truthful in all of their answers. When you ask some personal questions, whether it be about health or whether it be about politics or immigration, a lot of these central issues, they wanted to ensure they were getting honest answers from these potential jurors. And the judge did reserve the right in his ruling this afternoon. He said, listen, I can change my mind. If we're going to hit pause on this audio, if we get too personal, he gave himself the ability to do that, and he did do that in one instance.
And I was going to ask, those were particular instances where maybe it was a personal matter as to why they didn't want that question or that answer to that question to be public. So now we obviously know that the jury is seated. Yeah. We have everybody ready to go. They'll have an off day tomorrow. That was initially the goal. They had today and tomorrow reserved for jury selection, but essentially they got done early.
They did, and the concern was finding that impartial jury, and that's why they scheduled 2 full days of potential jury deliberation. So what's going to happen now is tomorrow is off. Everyone is going to come back Monday morning. Opening arguments are going to begin at 9 a.m. here inside the federal courthouse. The judge gave the jurors, as they now go home for a long weekend, very strict instructions. Do not read the newspaper. Do not watch television news. Literally, do not even talk to anyone you know about this case because you are now a juror. Any research on the outside has to be thrown out. Every decision you make, the judge telling this jury late this afternoon, has to come from inside this courtroom, has to come from the evidence that will be presented over the next week. He predicted, whether this happens or not, he predicted that the trial should last 4 to 5 days, which means we could have a verdict by the end of next week.
Which, of course, everyone will be watching that very, very closely. The timeline playing out in real time. Political Director Matt Smith with us tonight. Very important conversations to be had in court today over transparency. So appreciate you bringing that here with us tonight. Obviously, Ray, this is one of the many things we talk about with federal court. No cameras allowed inside, no streaming allowed inside. So this is why the play-by-play from our reporters inside that courthouse are crucial in moments just like these. We'll send it back to you in studio.